Hello and welcome to Verbose Mode by Taxcare at Infobip Shift 2025 in an amazing Zadar, Croatia. We have great sound, excellent. Amazing Zadar, Croatia on the shore of the Adriatic Sea. Gorgeous location, gorgeous venue, and my first gorgeous host. Welcome. Andrea,
thank you so much.
Great to open Verbose Mode with you as a guest. Tell us a little bit about what you, as a representative of a European committee, doing here in a very technical conference.
So really nice to be your first speaker of the day, and really great to be in Zadar. My role is heading communication with the media for the European Commission in Croatia. So I work for the European Commission. I'm the representative here on the ground for Croatia. And what we do is we try to, I will use the word evangelize, because in this day and age, I really think we need evangelization on every front in terms of especially tech and our tech sovereignty. So today I would love to speak to you about what Europe, or the European Union and the European Commission as its executive body, is doing to strengthen and, let's say, even protect Europe's tech sovereignty. So I'd love to speak about AI, I'd love to speak about social media, we can speak about cybersecurity. Let's see how much we can fit in.
Yes, no, this is
small time.
Those are great topics, and there isn't a lot to unpack. So there is this misconception that Europe kind of plays the second fiddle in the global, or it depends where you put China, on the global high-tech and technology scene. And I guess looking at all the great companies here at Shift, maybe it's shifting, maybe it's changing, and it's not only what the market does about it, it's only what the European governance does about that. So what are the steps that the European Committee takes in order to really put Europe out there as a technology leader?
Right, I mean, you're asking all the right questions. The common, I would even call it misconception, please allow me to do that, maybe even among the tech sector itself, is that, Europe is there just to regulate, they are imposing rules, that's where our companies are leaving, our people are leaving. No, I mean, we've done a huge analysis of what's sort of still to be fixed with the EU single market. It's by a gentleman called Mario Draghi. If you haven't read it yet, read it. It's been out there for 2 years, I think, right now. And so he's analyzed the weakest spots of our single market. So when we speak about single market, it's the core of Europe. It's what the EU started with. So the commercial interests, yes, making us bigger together on the global stage. So you have freedom of movement, freedom of goods, freedom of movement of people, freedom of movement of capital. So they're the four goods of the market, or the four freedoms. We want to add to it the fifth freedom, which is the freedom of movement of knowledge and research. We want to make us compact. When you mentioned China, you mentioned the US. Europe is a complex democracy. We have 27 voices in the Council, so the European Commission represents all 27 member states. Sometimes it takes more time to bring in some decisions, to pass some laws, to get some funding, but the ultimate result is we have a very democratic outcome of things. So I would like to highlight that. What I get the most from people who actually maybe even left Europe, try to find investors elsewhere. I'm speaking about startups and people launching their business in tech. They find the biggest problem to be investments. So risk investments, not regulation. When we speak about the only law on AI in the world, the EU's AI Act, we only regulate the type of AI, the behavior of certain AI products on the market. That means the ultimate goal is human-centric, so to protect persons from violation of privacy. There's still anything harmful that can be done with AI, we put it off the market in the European Union. Off the market is, for example, social scoring. There are some countries in the world at another end of the globe who are using social scoring for profiling the individuals, and then you are simply stuck in a row, you may have done something bad, you may have done an offense once in your life, you're reformed, you want to start anew. There's certain places in this world where you can't do that because AI has, we
don't want to compare ourselves to that.
So that's an example of a law, and the laws are not necessarily, they're linked to individuals. So we want to stop profits from being the primary goal on our market, because we need to protect human rights, democracy, everything that's a value for us in Europe. So I really see, like you asked me in the beginning, I really see Infobip shift as the great place to showcase how many European tech companies are there to unite. And I'll be speaking later in the day about a project of a common European interest where you have 19 huge companies from Europe, from 7 different member states joining in together for cloud technologies. And we, the European Commission, is offering a lot of funds, more and more funds, to strengthen, us together, our market together, so that our brain, our ideas don't have to find funding elsewhere. And a very, very special message and very important message is the private sector. We need more private capital investments in things like, like a lot of companies that we'll see today here from Europe, things that they are doing. They need money to progress, especially the startups, of course. And then, maybe the climate has been different in Europe. It's a continent where risk-taking is not necessarily the first instinct on the market, but times are changing. And if we want to compete, and we are competing, we're still competitive, we need to be more competitive. You've mentioned the US, you've mentioned China. We need more private capital and private investment. We need more dialogue between, those who are developing these fantastic new technologies, between national governments, between the European Commission, and then, I repeat, the private capital.
Yeah.
We need
Speaking about private capital, let me challenge you here a little bit.
All right.
I think there is conflict between the two messages that you convey. The first is we want to bring in the private capital, and obviously the interest of private capital are profits. And then you are also saying we don't want the profits to be like the main driver.
Absolutely.
How do you bridge this conflict?
We need to bridge it together, or else we'll be left with no one willing to invest in Europe. But we do not want to compromise what is the biggest added value of Europe, which is democracy, which is protection of individuals, which is human rights in the online sphere and the offline sphere.
So what is the solution?
Dialogue. It's a dialogue. I mean, we need to sit down at a table. So just last week, 40 biggest CEOs of European tech companies, so tech companies from Europe, have signed a petition together with the European Commission, actually, calling out to private investors for a dialogue, for them to look towards Europe and to, really need to sit together at a table. Of course, private companies need profit. Profit is the one that's driving our success generally, and that's driving the success of Europe globally. So that has to stay. But there are certain rules of the game. If you are from the EU, you do need to continue to be protected. So none of the rights that we have as individuals may be jeopardized, right? I mean, there's even an initiative. Last week there was a speech held by the President of the European Commission. It's called State of the European Union. And she mentioned, it's quite an extensive mention actually, for maybe more than 5 or 6 minutes out of 60, she spoke about protecting children online, because currently what we can see, algorithms are raising our kids, not parents. And, parents have to be above profits. We need to think of the ways we can act on the European level to make everyone feel safe on this continent, drive profit, build a world in which we have tech sovereignty, we have, the best quality of life in the world like we do right now, even in the digital sphere, but also, driving progress forward. We have the brains, we have the ideas, we have the companies, we just need to kind of pull our heads together and think what we can gain as a continent if we try to, work together in these challenging times. So your question was quite right. That is the challenge. But the core idea is we do not want to jeopardize values that we have that are European values. They're founded in our treaties. You know, people feel them. We don't. You know, we would feel them if we started missing them. You know,
Yeah. No, of course. Yes. That makes sense. And there is a lot of regulations that I'll build around those protections. And you already mentioned AI, and we see that there are companies that are implementing those guardrails, like, for example, Mistral and others. What other areas do you work in to put those guardrails that will protect individuals?
Right. I mean, we have them everywhere. You know, since the digital world has started expanding so much, we needed to shift the protection that's physical into a protection that's out there in the digital world. But the biggest thing about Europe is we do not regulate from the EU level what can be done locally, you know, by a member state. So there is no talk about imposing laws that are not necessary. But when something becomes a trans-border problem, when there's a space where there's no borders, like the digital, it's clear that you have a law regulating the digital market. So it's the Digital Markets Act. Yeah, we've actually. I mean, if you want to talk about fines, there have been 2 fines recently. One for Apple, one for Google, for not obeying some of the written rules, which are actually there to protect the customer on the market. Because you know, we are individuals, but we are also customers. We have protection with companies that are, you know, you go to a store, you buy shoes, or you fly somewhere and your airline kind of misses their deadline and you get a refund. So why not, for example, like gatekeepers? That's a big thing with our law on digital markets. We do not want a platform, simply because it's huge and big, to push only the products that it wants to push on the clients, on us as you know, buyers. We want an individual to have access to all the info. So with this act, we've regulated the behavior of what we call gatekeepers, because you have this big gate. There's someone who's, you know, allowing the big ones in, leaving the little ones out, which is also in a way harmful for smaller European companies. So about 90% of all companies in Europe are SMEs, so small and medium. And we have to speak about protecting, you know, back to our first topic, we need to protect European brain, European ideas, also European companies, small companies.
Yeah, and we see it here again in Shift. There are a lot of startups and smaller companies that are obviously, we hope, will grow into something bigger and more successful. Speaking about those acts, one of them is the cybersecurity one that imposes a lot of regulations on how the company should act in regards with cybersecurity. This is something that we as TaxCare really care about, because what we do is we provide security patches for software which is older and might be out of their end-of-life cycles, what we call the endless support. And this is something that now is very, very important, with a law that actually requires companies to provide to have security patches for all the software, including the one which is end of life.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a big topic. When we speak about cybersecurity, we've had some recent attacks on large systems within member states. I mean, even in Croatia, one of the biggest research institutes in the country was targeted. So the threat is real. There's various. I'm not an expert in cybersecurity per se, but I know what we do from the EU level. And there's one more thing that I really want to highlight without sounding too technical. So we've done a lot of regulation over the years. I told you that we've done it when member states of the European Union couldn't do it themselves, and when it was trans-border, when it was bigger than one piece of the EU puzzle. And there's been some extra regulate, like there are overlapping elements of various acts, of various laws. What we're doing now, we're going through all the laws with the help of internal AI that we have, and we use at the Commission, don't worry, all cyber safe. So we are simplifying the rules, and what we will launch soon is the simplification package on digital. It will also include the simplification related to the implementation of some security standards in the cybersecurity space. So what I can tell you, what I can announce, maybe exclusively, that it's coming up within the next few months. So all the companies dealing in cybersecurity, working on it, selling it, developing it, it will get much easier for them. Our motive is to get 800 billion euros less of expenses by European companies to go into unnecessary implementing aspects related to some laws. So we're simplifying everything, and it's also big for the EU market.
Absolutely.
Like we want to make it dense, we want to make it easy. We need to have standards in place. Cybersecurity, huge thing. It's not going to go off the radar. We're not going to abolish the law on it. We're just going to simplify it, fine-tune it with the rest of the laws that are maybe overlapping. So our experts are analyzing as we speak, and I'm announcing simplification even in that area.
This is great. This is very important, and this is how you bridge this gap between how do we make profits without compromising on privacy, security, and everything else. So that's a win-win.
Yeah,
and here you have it, folks. There's a scoop at Verbose mode. For the first time, you hear about this simplification of the regulations and the governance of the European Commission. This is great. Andrea, that was a pleasure.
Same
and very, very interesting and insightful. Thank you very much. For you folks, we're going to switch from all the channels that you might watch this broadcast at X and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitch to YouTube only, to kind of go easy on your notifications a little bit. So if you want to hear more of those amazing interviews here at Shift, switch to TaxCare YouTube channel. We will continue to do it live all day today and tomorrow. And with that, Andrea, thank you very much. And you stay tuned for next interviews. Thank you and bye-bye.